Hello, my name is Alina Mcleod and I am a Canadian content creator that recently traveled to China as a tourist, and I must say, I was very impressed. I spent about a month traveling the country, mainly in the southern portion where I started in Guangzhou, then I went to Zhangjiajie, then Chongqing, Chengdu, Kunming, and finally Lijiang. So I feel like I got to see a very diverse section of the country. It was incredibly interesting, and the two experiences that really stood out to me was definitely Zhangjiajie for the incredible nature, something out of a storybook with just how beautiful it was. And second was definitely the pandas at the Chengdu Breeding Center, because ever since I was a kid, I've kind of had this love obsession for pandas, and I had never seen them in real life, so it was just such a special experience to not only see them in real life but also see so many of them and be so close up in person. So it was just such a cool experience. China was substantially more modern than I was expecting. I think as soon as I arrived at Guangzhou airport, I was like, wow, this is definitely not what I expected, and there was a sort of culture shock, you could say. I think what was most impressive was probably the transport system as a whole, but especially the high-speed trains and how extensive the network is in China, like how efficient and clean they are. It was just so cool to be able to get around the country so quickly by train. And then the other thing that I really liked was also being able to order your food from your seat. I didn't know that when I first started traveling on the train, but I think it's such a cool idea that you can just scan a QR code and order whatever kind of food you want. They bring it directly to you. I wish more countries would actually implement that system because it's a really good idea. There definitely was some issues with the language barrier, I think, especially with the destinations that I chose because they aren't super popular with foreign tourists, at least yet. If I had gone to Beijing and Shanghai, I think I probably would have come across more people that spoke English, but in the areas of China that I went to, I really did have to rely on a translator app to communicate with locals. But overall, it worked. It was fine, and I think if I do visit China again, I would like to learn some Mandarin myself and be able to have a little conversation with locals, but I will say that it is a very challenging language. It was a very unique experience to use the digital payment methods that they have in China, like Alipay and WeChat. In most of my travels, I usually use just credit cards, but overall, I found it fairly user-friendly. Especially Alipay, that was my preferred one because I found their English translation to actually be quite good. One challenge that I really had when traveling China, and that I hope will change over time and that maybe the tourism authorities can change, is that it was very difficult to book attraction passes as a foreigner because a lot of them just use WeChat and there is no English translation. So in those circumstances, I had to get a local to help me. Like for the Chengdu Panda Breeding Center, I had to have somebody else book it for me, and also the Lijiang Dragon Snow Mountain, I wasn't able to book it myself. So if they could have an English translation, or if they had a website that tourists could easily book on, I think that would just make things a lot more user-friendly. Overall, I really did enjoy my time in China and would definitely go back because there really is so much to see. It is such a big country, and I was especially impressed with how much effort goes into creating a lot of the tourist attractions. I think it was very well managed and easy to kind of understand how things work. The shopping is also very good in China because obviously it's such a big manufacturing hub. So if you're somebody like me who loves to go to beautiful modern malls, then China has so much to offer in that regard. And lastly, what also really stood out for me, especially as a solo female traveler, is that I did feel very safe. Like, I felt very safe in China, and I can't say that about a lot of different countries. So for anybody who has that as a concern, I think China is actually a great choice of destination, because I really felt at ease basically everywhere I went. So to anyone who is on the fence about traveling China, I hope you will consider it, and I hope my videos kind of gave people a different window of what China is like and what it has to offer. Personally, this is definitely a destination that I would like to see more of, and I've made some really great friends also on my visit in China, so I will definitely be back.